For close to 4 years now, he has shown no interest in putting in the work. No interest in finding common ground. No interest in using the awesome power of his office to help anyone but himself and his friends. Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe.
Welcome back to Inside Politics. We're talking today with Tennessee Democratic Party Chair Mary Mancini about this week's Democratic National Convention and looking forward to next week's convention as well as the November election. Mary, certainly one of the big things that's been helpful for Joe Biden has been the help of his former colleague, former President Barack Obama. He's been much more of an attack dog in this during the convention compared to others. Most presidents don't do that in the past once they leave office. Is he overplaying that, or is that likely to work well for the Biden-Harris ticket?
I think it is something that needs to be said to the American people. I think that's the most important aspect of that. We should be afraid. You know, we don't need to look at the havoc that Trump has wrought in the past 4 years. You know, all we need to do is look at the past 4 months with over 174,000 COVID deaths, including 1,400 Tennesseans. And so, it's scary out there. And so if he can be the person who delivers that message with the gravitas he has of being in that chair, it's not just helpful to the ticket and to politics. It is a dire warning that the American people need to hear. Donald Trump, he couldn't save jobs. He couldn't save lives, right? He can't do anything but be divisive and tweet damaging tweets that hurt this country. So it's a message that absolutely has to be said. And Barack Obama is the perfect person to deliver that.
Going into the convention, there were polling for the race showing that Biden was somewhere from 4 to 10 points ahead, but all the polls seem to indicate there's an enthusiasm gap. The people who are voting for the president are much more enthusiastic about that than the Democrats who are voting for Biden or independents voting for Biden. Is that a concern? The president may help with that, but won't Kamala Harris be, as the vice presidential one, given how historic she is as far as being the first woman of color and the first Asian American to be on this and the first black to be on the ticket, at least as vice president? Isn't that going to make a big difference? Could that make a difference to bridge that enthusiasm gap?
So, well, first of all, polls are used to, I think, cause panic. Right. I haven't seen the poll. There's so many out there. And, you have to look at the methodology and you have to look at the questions that were asked and you have to look at who was asked those questions. Right. But very often the media will find a poll and grab onto it and just to inflame one side or another. So let's put that aside for a second. What I know is that we have an opportunity in the state of Tennessee and across the country to make a case to voters who have been reflexively voting for Republicans, to make a case to them that there is another way, that there is a better way, that there is a way in which we are bathed in light and promise and hope rather than the opposite, which is what the Republican Party is representing here. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they represent that light. They represent moving this country forward. They represent the best of what this country is and has to offer, and the opportunity that people have when they come to this country or are born in this country. That's, I think, what we need to look at. So since we have that opportunity and we have these incredible people at the top of the ticket, we're going to take advantage of that opportunity and make sure that we talk to as many voters as possible and listen and answer their questions and make the case as to why they should vote for Democrats this election cycle.
Michelle Obama was again a star at one of these conventions. She seemed to have bridged the gap more than anybody I saw that actually gave a speech that was different because it was virtual as opposed to giving it in a large hall. Are we going to start to see that to be important going in the future? Because this may not be the last convention that we have in this kind of format.
She's just masterful, and she's masterful at anything that she does, really. But I think the delivery was one thing, the system of delivery was one thing, but her words were just something else. She's able to connect with people, and when she said that Donald Trump is in over his head, it was believable, and it was something that we all were like, yeah, he's totally in over his head. He's, so yeah, the method of delivery is great, but the fact that we have these amazing leaders in the Democratic Party who are able to deliver at the same time a message of hope and of who we actually are as a country, and combine that with sounding the alarm for our democracy is something that is the beautiful thing to behold. And we have a lot of those leaders who can do that on the national level as well as here in Tennessee. And they actually, it's working, and they're able to do it, and we're thankful.
We talk a lot about surrogates and how they've done at this convention, but normally most people vote for the person who's going to be president because of that person, not because of the people on the ticket with them or because of other surrogates. In this particular case, did Joe Biden do a good job with that in his acceptance speech on Thursday night? He didn't appear to be what President Trump accuses him so often of being Sleepy Joe.
No, well, Joe Biden is a lifelong public servant who has the empathy that you need to be a good public servant. We saw it last night. He listens, he connects with people, he takes what they say to him and turns it into meaningful action and legislation. And that is the Joe Biden that we saw in last night's acceptance speech. And that is the Joe Biden that the American people need, the president that the American people need right now. They need somebody with a steady hand. They need somebody with the ability to lead, who is not in over his head, who has the experience, and who will listen to them and have the empathy to feel that this is about the American people they serve and not just themselves.
Tennessee Democratic Party Chair Mary Mancini is our guest on Inside Politics. Back to continue our conversation on the other side of this break.
He is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is.